Are you prepared to break free from the conventional notions of luxury and wealth? Unlock the secrets to managing and growing family wealth while preserving legacy. Welcome to Beyond Wealth.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Wealth, Innovating for Life Elevation. Today, we're excited to have Catherine Smith here to join us to talk about and explore personalized property and asset management, the importance of family legacy, and strategies for effective team building in luxury real estate. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. And I like to start with a rundown. So if you could just share with our listeners your company.
Yes. So we founded CS Smith Management in 2020. We had just moved to Boone, North Carolina. That's where my husband went to school. We're both from North Carolina. Had moved away for about 10 years and lived in the Virgin Islands for 10 years. Started our career in the private service industry there, where we managed private property on St. John for two different families. Both lived on site. Long story short, because we only have 28 minutes, it can turn into a very long story, but the hurricane of 2017, Irma, destroyed one of the properties. So with that kind of went our jobs in a nutshell. And the owner decided not to redevelop, and we took a position with another family, two very different experiences. And, we really just fell in love with the work and the industry, with all the details and the multiple moving parts. But the second family was not the right fit for us. And we had been in the islands for, 10 years. It was time for a change. So we did some traveling, some, soul searching. What do we want to do? Where do we want to be? And ultimately ended up back in North Carolina, where we kind of found a niche and a need for a private service for second homeowners. There's a lot of rental property management, but there was, no one really catering to private second homeowners. So in 2020, height of COVID, we moved back and, tried to establish a business where no one knew exactly what we did. We could have a very long conversation with people and they still thought we managed Airbnbs, and we're like, no, this is very different. So since then, we networked and, grew our vendor network, grew our team. And here we are today with around 30 properties in the high country. Some of those, or one of those, I'll say, homeowners, loved our services and recruited us to Charlotte to help manage their primary residence. And we've since taken on another family for fractional estate management there. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, as much as I can summarize.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you've built a really great business in an area that definitely needs it. And then what is your role, and how long have you guys, how long have you been in that position? And can you share your team size with everyone?
Yes. So it's myself and my husband. We're the founders. I'm a managing partner. So we're just, we share equal roles and responsibilities and have our different strengths. Our team there's 6 of us all together. We have 3 staff members currently in the high country, and we've been at it for 4 years now.
Awesome. And so, maybe you could share a little bit about kind of your background, and maybe, how you got into, really wanting to, get into and stay in private service, and maybe any inspirational moments that happened kind of along the way to your work down in the Virgin Islands?
So we moved to the Virgin Islands in 2010. My husband got a job with the Virgin Islands government in the planning department. So, I worked on boats the first year. I was in the hospitality industry, and then ended up, managing a water testing lab. I'll spare you all the details, but did that for about 3 years. And in the Virgin Islands, it's not a normal work environment. So you're just kind of roped into everything. And Stuart, my husband, and I are very just resourceful people. We've done a myriad of things. We had been in St. Thomas for 5 years at that point, and, kind of were looking for something different. So we bought a sailboat, learned how to sail. We were both boaters, but not sailors, and then sailed the Caribbean chain. Intended to do that for about 2 years. And it was interesting. My mom sent a job from Estate Jobs, and that the posting was for St. John, and we're like, we know that property, we know the area, and we're like, this sounds amazing. So it incorporated a lot of creativity and hospitality, and we're like, this is a thing. So we applied. We were far down island, close to Martinique, and we got the interview with the family, and they flew us up to New York, and we had 9 rounds of interviews, and we're thinking, what did we just get ourselves into? We're like, we just came off of a sailboat. I think they thought we came off of a yacht. We're like, no, this is very different. So we were selected for the position and sailed back up, and I was the house manager for the family, and my husband property manager. So he managed, all of the projects and renovations, and I was responsible for the internal upkeep of the home and in the service when they were in residence. So yeah, like I said, we just really fell in love with the dynamic work and serving people, and then when we had taken that next step, we just kind of wanted to fractionalize that when we moved back and have our own space. We lived on site, so it was very nice to have our own home and our own things, because you're always at work when you're on site. So that's just kind of how we fell into it, and been really fortunate in the last several years to connect with other private service professionals, and it's nice to know people who understand what you're going through and what you do.
Yes, 100%. I would say that in this space, network's everything, and
Yes.
I found that there's some really, really valuable resources out there as you continue to kind of dive in deeper to the industry in a whole. So no, that's wonderful that you've got that support, because that makes life a lot better. Yes, so I think you've shared a lot about kind of your experience, and it sounds like the influence from that role kind of led you to wanting to do fractional services. But focusing on luxury properties, there's a lot of unique challenges, right? So I'm definitely interested in kind of your insights as to how your team at CS Smith customizes services to meet specific needs, especially when you're dealing with a lot of secondary, tertiary homes where you might have an absent owner for the majority of the year, and kind of, maybe some insights, not just into the services, but also the relationship management there, Catherine.
Right. So the first and foremost, we listen. We hear those things that the owners, that's important. And usually there's something that makes people tick, and there's something that makes people really happy. And we've developed a keen ability to really focus on those things. It's been kind of a learning curve, because we're trained for the highest level of detail. And, for some people that's not important. It's important for them maybe to have flowers or something like that, or just the simple things, like they want their kids yogurt and they don't want to have to deal with that. So people will immediately tell you those things. And it's one of the first things that comes out. And when you nail that, you've made their whole world happy. So it's just listening and cultivating that relationship, and having conversations with clients up front about what to expect, and just taking care of them from there, and keeping that relationship and communication lines going.
Yeah, I think the key there is definitely listening, but also that continuous communication line. A lot of times, in a situation where you're managing a second or third home, a lot of times people just want to know what's going on, who might be there,
Mm-hmm.
and so providing that visibility and insight give them kind of peace of mind, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's important to some people. And we're like, don't you want us to stock your fridge, or create an experience when you come home? They're like, no, I just want a peace of mind. And it's like, okay, we hear you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you talked about a lot of things when it comes to being detail oriented, and taking joy in your client's comfort. How does that personal touch kind of differentiate you from other companies in the property management service space?
Well, in all honesty, here in the South, it's not a big service. So, especially in the mountain area that we're in, I think that, with our level of experience, having dealt with ultra high net worth clients, especially, expanding into the Charlotte market. The ability for staffing isn't as great. So there's not as many people that have had that level of experience, but really it all comes down, like I said, just knowing what to listen for. And we've just done so many things. We've encountered all types of people, all types of situations. So I think that just having a multitude of experiences really, kind of puts us ahead of the curve in terms of being able to take care of people and pivot when we need to, and be creative and think on our feet.
Yeah, and everything's great when everything's good, but
Yeah.
when things aren't good, I'm really interested in some of the challenges that you face, maybe on a more regular basis, and how you're able to kind of navigate those challenges to success for your clients.
Yeah, so logistical challenges are always, especially for second homes, bending to vendor schedules. A lot of times, I mean, this is a small mountain town. People are like, we don't really schedule. Can you be there in an hour? And we're like, or can you be there now? And, we're trying to get those projects done that are really important for the client. So, we kind of have to bend. But when that's happening at 3 different properties at the same time, or 3 different owners are coming in for one weekend, we somehow multiply ourselves. Haven't figured out that magical solution yet of how we do that, but it just always works out. So those are kind of more of our challenging moments dealing with second homes. And then, same thing, still bending to owner schedules and vendor schedules in their primary residences as well, which actually becomes more challenging because, you try to get things done when they travel, but they're there more. So that, and I would just say budget approvals for projects, and, just keeping that ball rolling, keeping the vendors engaged, and staying on top of, hey, if you want this done, let's move it along. So those are some of our biggest challenges. But again, just lots of communication solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that's like staffing or getting the right vendor is a challenge. Do you find yourself having to kind of go outside of your demographic to find the support that you need for special projects in the area?
There's a lot of talent in the area, but special projects, yes, we'll source out of Charlotte or surrounding areas. But I mean, it's always around. It's digging and finding. And fortunately, we have an amazing team that they're also very resourceful and creative and persistent. So, we always get it done and find a way.
So you've got 30 homes that you're managing. In our space, it seems that we're always there. Our clients are always buying something and then immediately going into construction. So
Yes.
it sounds like you guys act as an owner representative through that process and helping kind of navigate and be a fiduciary for the family. Can you share some of the types of projects that you guys are actually managing for clients?
We manage everything from kitchen, bathroom renovations. Again, we're kind of the liaison and the middleman, and we speak contractor language, and sometimes the homeowners don't, and sometimes the contractors don't speak the homeowners language. So we translate that language and help make it a good experience for everyone. We love people that have a creative mind and kind of use their resources to do something fun.
And are you guys able to kind of go, you mentioned that you have like a couple of primary families, in addition to a number of other secondary homes for other families. Are you guys able to go outside of your demographic for your clients if they needed, are you only able to support kind of in the mid-Atlantic area?
No, we're able to travel if they need support with other residences as well. So we kind of structure it where our staff takes care, kind of boots on the ground in the high country of North Carolina. And then, myself and my husband are able to be flexible with other families and, consult with our other homes, other property managers, travel as needed, and set systems up for them wherever they need.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I think especially from like a representative perspective, being able to help families, across the country wherever they might have something going on is of great value and in
Hmm.
most cases much needed. So
Yes.
yeah. So, talking about staff and your team, when it comes to like, making sure that you've got, your team on the same page, you're meeting that standard. Can you kind of share some of the tactics and strategies you use from like a training perspective and then and kind of maintaining that standard of excellence for your clients?
Yeah, normally, with our staff, we have weekly meetings. We go over the agenda for the week, what's most important, what's a priority for clients. In terms of training, it's a lot of well, I'll back up and just say that hiring it's an art form, and it's probably one of the most challenging parts because it takes just a unique person that has various skill sets, a certain personality. So those diamonds in the rough are not everywhere, but we've been fortunate to build just a really incredible team. So just instilling in them, we take care of each other first, we take care of the clients. And I say that just because you want that work environment to be, a place you look forward to coming to, and then you'll serve your clients better. So we strive for excellence, and we teach our staff what we've learned, and point out what the areas that they can improve on, and the areas they're doing great in as well. So
Yeah, I think, we've spent a lot of time talking about, asset management, and I think it's kind of a good time to transition to really, the people and the legacy part of what I really wanted to get in today with you. And, I love that you're putting people first. I've seen that time and time again be successful for organizations in making sure that you've got that healthy work environment and a good culture. And then ultimately, when it comes to, the legacy preservation, you're again dealing with a secondary home market, which is, may sound easy, but can be just as busy as a primary home. And
mm-hmm.
so, when it comes to those relationships and, it sounds like you kind of take on some of that care as far as kind of the family's legacy and what you're ultimately providing, hopefully for another generation.
Right. And that's, I don't know how much our clients are always thinking about that, but we are. So, sometimes their kids come to visit, and we're like, you know, are they going to be calling us? Are we going to stay with the family that long, kind of thing? But yeah, just we're really trying to instill an experience in them. We feel like, they've worked really hard to achieve these things, and we want to give that, just moment of relief and relaxation, and, and pass that down. But walk in, enjoy yourself, get creative. We always say, dream big, you've earned it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hiring is a challenge, but I think finding the right new clients is also a challenge. So can you talk about, just share with us kind of your process, maybe some of the things that you ask or are looking for when you're, being introduced to new clients, from maybe other client referrals, and some of the things that are positive markers when you're meeting a potential new prospect.
Yes. Yeah, that was a difficult thing to do, especially starting, like I said, in the height of COVID, and getting our name and out there and what we do. We don't advertise a lot. We have a website. Most of it's word of mouth at this point. So a lot of client referrals, and, really we're looking just, are you a kind human? Are you, we'll be good to you, you be good to us, kind of thing. And just making sure that we're on the same page in that relationship. And then making sure that what we do actually caters to your needs. So, if things are important to you that, that we don't necessarily serve, then, we're honest with you. We're not at the point where we just need clients now. Like we do pick and choose. So we want to make sure it's a good fit with the personality to work with, and introducing them to our staff and our team. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to make sure for all of our listeners that when you're, we talk about team building on the show, but, team building goes in two directions. It goes up to your clients and it goes back to your staff. And so you want to make sure that you're building a healthy client base, while at the same time you're building a great culture and staff to support those clients. And I think both are equally important, because, it's, everything can be good, but maybe having one bad apple can really disrupt
Yes.
something that you've worked very hard for. And so the power of saying no in those moments where you just feel like something's not right, it sounds like you just kind of trust your gut, Catherine.
Yes. I will give my husband a lot of credit. He's extremely discerning, and and we talk through it. We are constantly talking about everything. But yeah, you're right. The power of no is very impactful. It is very difficult to do. We're like, I want to help everybody, but at this, we can't multiply ourselves. So, we do, want to make sure that it's the right fit and we're taking it on for the right reasons.
Yeah. And I think something that's interesting is that, you never want to tell your principal or your clients no, but in a way you don't have to. There's always a way in which you can rephrase whatever they're looking for in a more positive light, so that you're not necessarily saying no, but you're helping them get to the solution that ultimately that they need to get to. So I would imagine that happens a lot when it comes to kind of the managing of the relationships and helping kind of set that expectation with clients.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about expectation management. And, it's getting them what they ultimately want. And sometimes they don't know that or know how that process works, but we do. So it's massaging their expectations, or not massaging their expectations, but just massaging the situation to where, they just feel taken care of, and they don't have to worry about anything, and we've got it under control, and they're going to get ultimately what they want.
Yeah. And it's, some of my greatest experiences, before this venture was, working with clients on special projects. And, it's like, they come up with some of some ideas that we might find to be, maybe a little crazy and impossible, but those are the projects that actually I end up found being the most rewarding ones, mm-hmm. because it's pushed you to a new level of creativity. It sounds like you really enjoy that part of your job.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The crazier, the better. Like, let us figure it out. Let us make it happen. I'm digging all my resources out. Bring it on.
Yeah. And so, this is, I believe, a challenge for a lot of companies like you. When it comes to that project management, how do you, when it comes to like building that team, for maybe the regular maintenance and stuff like that, that's, more or less kind of a set and repeat type thing, and you get good relationships and they help you across all the properties that you're managing. But for like larger capital projects, larger construction projects, are you guys what are your strategies to really running those well? Do you partner with general contractors? Like, are those already part of the network that you're helping on the maintenance side? I'm just kind of curious how you kind of position yourself. You mentioned that you're kind of in a middle position between the client and the construction side. So just curious how you're actually doing that, and it sounds like you do it well. So I'm interested in that.
So we, if there's existing contractors and that's the best option, you go with someone who knows the home, who if it's a special project that, we don't have a vendor for yet, it's really just about researching the vendor, reaching out, asking yourself, did they respond? Are they communicative? Do they get back to you in a reasonable amount of time? And that's going to kind of set the precedence for how the rest of the project is going to go. We can quickly weed those out. And then on-site meetings and just getting a feel for their demeanor. Is this someone we want to have on the property? Is that going to be okay and work well with the principal, especially in a primary residence? Easy way to weed that out as well. So we're looking for character in the vendors and response time, and you kind of gauge how the project's going to go based on that. And then there's always other options. So we kind of go until we find the right fit for the client as well.
Yeah, you always hope to try to, as an owner rep, avoid a takeover moment where your contractor has failed the project and you're looking for another one. So much better to slow down in the beginning and do a lot of homework up front so that you can avoid those pitfalls, that are actually more common than most people think.
Yeah. And then, like I said, as the kind of middle liaison and speaking the language of the contractor and the homeowner, I think it makes for a better relationship. So you make everybody just feel better about the situation. And there's a mediator. So when there's tension, between the homeowner and the contractor, it's like, I want this done faster. You can be the one to say, okay, here's why. Whereas maybe the contractor doesn't, have that capability to really articulate that and get that out. Somehow they can tell us, but they can't tell it to the homeowner. So we take it a little further and make it a little more seamless and palatable, I will say.
Awesome. And it sounds, Catherine, like you are a professional happy maker.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna put that on my resume.
Excellent. Well, kind of looking ahead, I want to talk a little bit and maybe get some insights to some of your future goals for the company. How you see the luxury property management industry evolving in these coming years, and what you guys are doing to kind of stay ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of newer wealth generations are more private. They aren't, they don't want a fully staffed home. So I think fractional estate management is really going to expand in the coming years. I know that is a very new term for people, and it was just a couple years back that I even heard it. I'm like, what is this? I was like, oh, this is what we do. I didn't realize it had a name. So I think that's going to be really big, and, kind of staying ahead of the curve on that, and what's trending with other people that are doing the same thing. How are we all structuring it? Love to collaborate on things like that as well with other people across the country. I also see in the South, just the private service industry really isn't here. I've seen a trend kind of move, Nashville area, Texas, over the last 10 years or so. And I think, in the North Carolina area, I'm seeing a lot more jobs and opportunities pop up. So I think this area is really going to expand in the private service industry. And as far as our company, we love building systems. And so we're building, boots on the ground systems for, second homeowners. So there's a model there that we could expand to in other areas in our region that are, big with vacation homes. And as well as just building systems for families. So being able to consult with families and figuring out what system works for them. And especially with families who really haven't had staff or may have had in-house staff, but no manager for that, which is we're working with a situation like that. So it's interesting because you just need that structure in the home and really for it to run like a business to get the most out of it. So being able to consult for our clients, nationally, internationally, whatever, we're open to it all. And then, and also we have a passion for creative projects and being the owner's rep in those crazy projects. Like I said, just bring it on.
Awesome. And so, you talk about duplicating yourself. Do you guys see, expansion at any point in the future?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of talent around us. They just, like ourselves and most people who get into the industry, they don't know it exists yet. So it's just sourcing that talent and putting out there what it can offer. And I think a lot of people would be interested. So we're working on expansions now, and we're actually going through a rebrand so that, it makes more sense for us to expand regionally, nationally, internationally.
Yeah, and so from just so for our listeners to understand, then in kind of that high and ultra high net worth space, the annual growth rate is beyond all of the projections that we thought even 4 or 5 years ago. So it's growing at an all time high rate. I also agree with you. I see kind of the residential services and estate management space growing faster than I've seen it in the last 20 years. And so the good part about that is that there's going to be more people to serve and not enough great people to serve them. So if you are interested in doing something like what Catherine's done here, there's ample opportunity all over the country, as we're seeing, this primarily being a larger city and maybe 4 or 5 places in the country to really now starting to grow across every state in the United States specifically. So yeah, it's great to hear that you are expanding, because I know that you guys do a wonderful job, and there's just not enough of us to serve everybody that really needs good help. So
Right.
yeah. So, I think kind of taking a look at yourself, I like to go beyond wealth with all of our guests and really talk about, some of the strategies and things that you do to have a great and healthy kind of work-life balance from a, personal, mental, emotional state. So interested to learn what it is that you do to also stay happy personally.
Right. Well, with it being my husband and I, it's just us. So we don't have kids or anything. So we're constantly talking about work. We're very passionate about what we do. We love what we do, but sometimes we're like, we have to turn it off. So we found, we love traveling. That's very important to us. And then we've kind of found that two of the things that we do that we don't actually talk about work are fly fishing and hiking. If we're hiking up a steep hill, all we're thinking is get to the top. We love the outdoors. And then as well as, just fly fishing, when you're in the river, you're not really thinking about much except for don't get your line caught in that tree and hook the fish. So we try to be conscious of time when we're not at work, to really be intentional about that time and just shut it down for a few hours.
Yeah, I share in your passion. I find that being outside and just listening to nature is a great way to kind of shut it off for myself as well. So I'm very passionate about making sure that we take that time for everybody, and as individuals, to take care of ourselves first, and then our families, and then go to work and do a great job. So I love that you guys are able to find that balance. And then, you also mentioned that you guys are going to be doing a rebranding. So we'll be excited to learn more about that once that comes, and we'll help continue to promote all of your amazing services. But for today, where can people find you online, and how can people get in contact with you, Catherine?
So as of right now, we are CS Smith Management. You can find us at csmithpropertymanagement.com. We'll keep that for a while too. So if you listen to this and it's, 6 months from now, you should still be able to find us on that. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm not an avid social media person. I check it for messages and things, so I can be contacted on there, but I'm not a big poster. I tend to focus more on the hands-on day-to-day than the social media posts, but I love connecting with people. So feel free to reach out to me with any questions or collaborations or, anything of interest.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes. And if anybody's listening and you guys are thinking about a beautiful mountain lake home somewhere in the Carolinas, now you know where to find Catherine and her team to help you manage that property. So Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Wealth. Hope that you enjoyed the conversation with Catherine as much as I did. And as we all try to navigate estate management, which seems to be a moving target on a pretty continuous basis here. So Catherine, thanks so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
You're most welcome, and thank you. And everybody stay tuned for our next episodes. But until then, keep learning, stay curious, and keep striving for greatness. Make it a fantastic time. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you found this conversation valuable, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or watch the conversion unfold on our YouTube channel at Estate Space. We will see you next time on Beyond Wealth.